My 29 female, married coworker, 35 male, who I considered a casual friend, has started acting way too intense toward me, from constantly claiming we're so alike, to trying to join my gym, comparing me to his wife, and even calling me 3 times when I was late to lunch. Now a mutual friend says he's into me. To start, and I cannot stress this enough, I am not interested in this guy. At all. Let's call him John. I have absolutely zero desire to have an affair with a married man. Even if I woke up tomorrow having undergone a complete moral lobotomy that erased every ounce of decency I have, John still wouldn't be my type. Not physically, not emotionally, not intellectually. There's no spark there, no secret. Maybe if things were different, fantasy. He's just not it. Now that we've cleared that up, here's the background. I've worked with John for somewhere between 2 and 3 years. We first met on orientation day, the kind of awkward corporate icebreaker setting where everyone's sitting in a conference room with too much coffee, going around the table to say their name, role, and a fun fact about themselves. Our workplace isn't exactly a bustling hub of youthful energy. It's mostly older employees who have been there for decades. At the time, there were maybe 5 or 6 of us under 35, and we all sort of gravitated toward each other. It's just easier that way when you're the minority in the office demographic. Over time, that little work friends group started meeting up outside of office hours. At first it was just casual happy hours or the occasional group lunch, but eventually it turned into more regular social events, dinners, weekend getaways, birthday parties. Over the years, that work-based social circle became more of an actual friend group. John was part of that crew, and so was his wife. In fact, I've even gone on a road trip with just the 2 of them before. No weird tension, no ulterior motives, just a normal trip where we explored some new places and split gas money. His wife and I get along fine, too. She's friendly, we can chat easily enough, and she's always been a welcome part of the group. But here's the thing, I wouldn't call either John or his wife my close friends. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy hanging out with them in a group setting. I'll happily join them for dinner or meet up for an activity, but I've always kept my boundaries. I don't tell them deeply personal details about my life. I don't go to them for advice about serious matters. They don't know the names of my siblings or the nitty-gritty of my family dynamics. They're social friends, the kind of people you enjoy spending time with but who don't have access to the more vulnerable chapters of your life. And as far as I knew, that feeling was mutual. John and I mostly shoot the shit, talking about work gossip, current events, random hobbies, TV shows. He doesn't know about major personal milestones I've gone through. We've never had long, late-night, heart-to-heart conversations. Our connection has always been easy, light, and comfortably distant. That's why what happened recently threw me so much. I'd always thought John saw me the same way I saw him, as someone fun to hang out with in certain contexts, but not someone whose personal life he's invested in. But during a recent work trip, just the 2 of us from our office traveling together, I started noticing a shift. The trip wasn't romantic, it wasn't even meant to be particularly social, but some of the things John said and did made me feel unsettled. But recently, John and I ended up traveling together for work, just the 2 of us from our team. It wasn't a romantic getaway or anything remotely like that, it was just a standard trip for a project we're both involved in. His wife obviously didn't come along, and I didn't think anything of it beforehand. We've both traveled with other colleagues before, no big deal. Except, ever since we got back, I've had this unsettled, slightly creeped out feeling I can't seem to shake. It's like something shifted during that trip, not in a huge, dramatic, he confessed his love way, but in a drip 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 of little interactions that, when you line them up together, start to look a lot like he was trying to create some kind of weird, overly personal bond with me. It started the first evening. We were having dinner after a long day, just chatting about random stuff. He asked me what my favorite film had been lately. I told him, and without even thinking about it, he lit up and said, "Oh, that's my favorite too. This is why we're such good friends. We're so alike." Not exactly creepy on its own, right? But something about the way he said it, leaning in, smiling like it was this profound revelation, made it feel more deliberate, like he was planting a seed. A little later, he asked me who my favorite coworker was. I assumed he meant in a professional context, like who's the best person to work with. So I said my old boss. Immediately, John jumped in with, "Oh, that's my favorite coworker too. See? We're so alike." Now here's the thing. My old boss left our department before John ever transferred into my area. He literally never worked with him. When I asked how he even knew my old boss, John admitted he'd never met him. He just liked his attitude. I don't even know what that means. It just felt like he was forcing these were the same person moments out of thin air. The next day, over lunch, he asked me about my goals for the year. I mentioned that I was trying to get more fit and had started going to a gym near my place. Without missing a beat, he said, "How would you feel if I joined your gym?" My gym is a solid 40 minutes from where he lives. I laughed it off and said, "Honestly, I'd hate that. I'm super self-conscious about my body." He let it drop, but I couldn't stop thinking about how random and unnecessary that offer was. He has gyms near him. He doesn't need my gym, unless the point was to spend more personal time together. Later that afternoon, he brought up top friends at work. He told me to list mine, minus him, because he was sure he was already in my top 3. I corrected him, saying I was actually closer to other colleagues. He sort of smirked and said, "That's fine. Then can I get to know you better?" Again, not inherently damning, but there was this insistent undertone to it, like it wasn't about casual work friendship anymore. And then came the part that really made me take a step back. He told me outright that he wanted to be my confidant. His exact words, "I want to be the person you can rely on for anything." I laughed awkwardly and said it sounded intense. He doubled down, saying that as we get older, it's important to have a small, close-knit circle of friends, and that I should stop making too many friends and instead focus on the people who really care about me. Which, in his mind, clearly included himself. Throughout the trip, he also kept doing this thing where he'd overpraise me for the tiniest actions. Like if I asked the server for an extra napkin, he'd gush about how organized I was. If I booked a taxi, I was suddenly a natural leader and go-getter. It wasn't just flattery, it was paired with little comparisons to his wife. "You're so good at this kind of thing," he'd say. "My wife's really shy, so she wouldn't speak up like that." That made me deeply uncomfortable. His wife is someone I've socialized with multiple times. She's always been friendly to me. And here he was putting me in this better at this than my wife category I never asked to be in. I told him the compliments were a bit much. He brushed it off, saying that it was just his love language and that he noticed how hard I work in the office without getting much recognition. According to him, he wanted to make up for that by giving me the verbal praise he thought I deserved. If any of these moments had happened on their own, I probably wouldn't have thought twice. But altogether, it started to feel like a pattern, one where he was trying to edge into a space in my life that I hadn't invited him into, while subtly distancing himself from his wife in the same breath. And that's what's been eating at me. On paper, he never crossed a hard, obvious line. But emotionally, it felt like he was testing the waters, trying to create this special connection, narrative without ever explicitly stating it. And knowing that his wife is also my friend, even if not a close one, makes the whole thing feel wrong. I honestly tried to brush off everything from that work trip and move on, and completely ignore whatever he has said, so I told myself, okay, maybe he's just awkward. Maybe he's one of those people who tries way too hard to bond when he's around someone he considers a friend. I even reminded myself that he really doesn't have many friends at work, and most of the ones he does hang out with, he met through me. I'm definitely the more outgoing one between us, so I figured maybe he just sees me as a social anchor. So I let it go. I didn't bring it up with him, I didn't distance myself, I just kept things normal and tried not to think any kind of weird angle like love or obsession kind of something. Then last week happened. We'd planned to grab lunch together. Nothing unusual. But earlier that day, another coworker popped by my desk and invited me to join them for a quick coffee break. I thought, sure, I'll have time for both. Except the coffee hangout ran long. We were talking about a project, then that turned into random chatter, and before I knew it, I was running late for lunch with John. No big deal, right? Adults reschedule all the time. Apparently not no big deal to John. When I got back to my desk, I saw that my phone had 3 missed calls from him. 3. In the middle of the workday. And the kicker? My phone was on Do Not Disturb because I was working earlier, so I didn't see them come in. But still, who calls a coworker 3 times in a row just because they're late to lunch? I figured maybe it was something urgent. But when I ran into him later in the hallway, the look on his face was intense. Like I'd stood him up for a wedding or something. He didn't start with, "Hey, everything okay?" Nope. He immediately asked why I was late. Full-on interrogated me about where I'd been and why I didn't answer my phone. I explained that I'd been with another coworker and lost track of time, thinking that would be the end of it. It wasn't. He then asked me, dead serious, if I needed him to hold me accountable so I wouldn't be late in the future. Like what? He phrased it as if tardiness was some kind of personal failing I needed him to help me fix. I kind of laughed and said, no, I think I can manage my own schedule. But inside, I was just stunned. Who says that? And here's the part that really stuck with me. It wasn't disappointment like, "Aw man, I was looking forward to lunch." It was personal. Like I'd hurt his feelings or broken some kind of unspoken agreement about prioritizing him. It was bizarre. That night, I decided to sanity check my reaction. I told the whole story to a mutual friend, someone who knows both me and John. They listened, then just said flat out, "Yeah, he's into you." That possibility hadn't even crossed my mind until then. Because here's the thing, I'm friends with both him and his wife. I've hung out with them together and separately. He's a devout Christian, the guy who literally runs our workplace's Bible study group. The kind of person who posts Bible verses on social media and gives moral lectures in casual conversation. And then there's the fact that John knows almost nothing about me personally. He doesn't know the names of my siblings, he doesn't know much about my dating history, he barely knows anything about my childhood. On the surface, we talk about hobbies, work, and whatever random thing is going on in the world, not the deep, emotional stuff you'd expect if someone had actual feelings for you. Plus, and I'm not fishing for compliments here, his wife is objectively stunning. She's the picture-perfect Christian homemaker type, gorgeous in that effortless way, sweet and polite, always dressed like she stepped out of a Pinterest board. Meanwhile, I'm a child-free atheist who swears like a sailor and wears band tees to brunch. We're so different, I genuinely couldn't imagine him being interested in me that way. But when my friend said it, I started replaying everything in my head, the "we're so alike" comments, the attempts to slot himself into my personal life, the over-the-top praise, the comparisons to his wife, the gym buddy suggestion, the "I want to be your confidant" line, the constant need to know where I am, and now, this weird possessive reaction to being late for lunch. It started to click in a way I really didn't want it to. So here's where I'm at. If this is him being into me, then I'm done. I have zero interest in encouraging anything like that, and if he ever made a move, I know exactly how it would look from the outside. He's married. He's religious. He has that whole wholesome image at work. If something happened, and I said I never encouraged it, I can already picture the raised eyebrows and the "are you sure?" comments. I'd be the one who looked bad. Which means if there's even a chance this is what's going on, I need to get ahead of it and just ice him out completely. Stop hanging out one-on-one. Keep everything strictly work-related. Because if this escalates, I'm not going to be the one caught in the fallout. What should I do? Should I tell his wife? Because I don't want to ruin anyone's relationship, and if you have been through this, please, any kind of advice would be helpful. How should I react to this? As I said, first, I am not attracted to him. Either we were just close friends, but things just got out of hands in just some time. I also feel bad for his wife. Should I just leave my job and look for some other corporate company, which is not easy to find? Or should I go straight and confront him and see what things occur later on, and how he reacts? Maybe he would understand and start making his distance, which would be better for both of us. His wife is a good human being, and nobody deserves this kind of thing. Please give me some advice. Also, don't forget to subscribe the channel.